really. If you're nursing where you're working, it's likely that you will meet people that you've nursed. You know, I meet people all the time that I've nursed, and sometimes I don't remember them, and they'll say, oh, you know, thanks for doing that for me. You know, you were great that day, and I'll walk away, and my husband will go, who was that? And I'll go, no idea. But you know, just be polite and. Yeah. So the boundaries are sometimes can become quite blurred if you're working and living in the same place, because you do meet people outside the hospital. Just be sensible. Just use your common sense. Okay, so reflection is something that we teach our students here in the UK. It's about thinking about what you've done, why you've done it, what's the consequences of what you've done, and what you're going to do about it in the future. So I'm sure you all do this as a matter of course. This happens naturally. What we want you to do here is we want you to write it down. We want you to write about it. Partly because it's a very good practice for you to reflect on things that you've done in your life, nursing things, I think I'm talking about, and partly because it helps with your written English. So there's two reasons we want you to do it. And this is more about reflection on communication, but the principles are exactly the same. So we don't need that. Right, so reflective practice is more than being thoughtful. It's about how you change your practice to improve. So you wouldn't change something if you thought you were doing it right, would you? So you need to reflect on it to make sure you're doing it right. Just looking, there's no flip charts down there. I'll do that in a minute. Okay, so reflective practice is something more than thoughtful practice. It's the form of practice which seeks to problematize. Very hard word to say. Situations that you're doing professionally. Like, this is very wordy. Please don't get tied up. Basically, what that means is if something happens in your practice that you're not happy with, or that you think you could have done better, it's about revisiting that situation, learning about it, and improving your practice because of it. Okay? Sometimes it might be something that you've done really well, and you'll go, flipping it, that went well today. Why did that go well? Well, maybe it was because I felt more relaxed myself. Maybe it was because I had 9 hours sleep last night. You know, so you reflect on it. Okay, that's all that means. Right, so what I want you to think about is, let's not do 3. Think about 2 activities that you've done this past week that is just routine that you do. And then I want you to think about 2 activities that you've done this past week that you've had to think about that you've not done before. Okay, you might want to jot them down, you might all right to do it in your head. I'm just going to go see if I can get this flip chart, and then we'll talk about them. The flip charts are great, but not going to get many pens.
روتین واک میکنیم از یونی تا خونه این شده خب یکی دیگه چی؟
Is this in our jobs, or is this
Anything that you've done, yeah. So 2 things that you've done this week that you do every day. So something really simple. And then 2 things that you've done this week that you've not done before, or that you don't have to do. Okay, who's going to give me an example of something that you do every day?
every shower?
It's new
Shopping every day. Someone's getting paid too much money. Go on, what was you going to say?
We just walk all the way from the accommodation to the uni.
Okay, so
This
that
is
walk.
everything.
Yeah, irritating. All right. Anything else? Going to the gym every day?
Taking shower.
In campus we have a
Go on,
gym.
people.
No, in campus we have a gym.
You have your
inside.
gym and you go every day?
Yes. Okay, that's great.
Is that something that you normally do before you came here?
Yeah.
Would you go to the gym every day?
Yeah.
For my work.
Taking shower.
Taking a shower, yeah. Taking a shower, brush your teeth, go to the gym,
Eating breakfast.
eating breakfast, what do you say?
Listening to Holly.
Listening to the holy book every day. So that's something you do every part of your routine, you don't think about it. Okay, somebody give me something that you've done different this week.
Walking from
So that walking, yeah. So you, keep that. I'll come back to it. So yours is walking. Yours is walking to the conference. So how did you learn how to do that? Did you have a map or?
No, I just
follow my classmates.
Your classmates, right? How did your classmates know? Who discovered how to walk from there to here? So you got a map. So you had to get a map. Now, where you live normally, you can walk to the shop and you wouldn't have to think about it. But because this is different, you've had to look at Google Maps. You've had to pick the best way, the way that avoids steps or hills or is quickest. Okay, good. Oh, did you say live alone?
No, sleep alone in bed.
Oh, sleep alone in bed. I'm sure we can sort that out. This is a big city. Okay. No, so right. So very seriously, that's something you've not done. You don't do normally. So how did you manage that? Was it better or was it worse? Better. So you're like a starfish like that in bed. So did you not wake up in the night and think, where is he?
No, because my baby, so I am not cautious someone will fall down from the bed.
Ah, okay.
So now I'm relaxed.
Lovely. Okay. Right, so this is going to take a little bit of concentration, but I think it's an important lesson to learn. So how many of you can drive a car? Right.
Not licensed.
Not licensed. Oh dear. Okay, don't want to know that. Right, so let me think of something else. Okay, we'll take. So when you learn to drive a car, right, those of you that have either drive one or are learning to drive one, when you get in that car for that first time, it's really, you know where to sit. You probably don't know that you can move the chair, so you can get closer or further away. Right? You don't know what the gears are. You turn it on, you're terrified it's going to take off with you behind the wheel. Okay, so at that point, you are conscious that you can't do it. You know that you can't do it. So we call that conscious incompetence. Incompetence. Can I spell? No, I can't. Right, so you are conscious that you're incompetent at that. Does everybody understand what that means?
Yeah.
So you know that you're
you don't know.
crap at driving a car. Right, sorry, that was one of them words that slipped out. So what do? You get someone to show you. So you learn. So you get an instructor, or your mum, or your dad, or your brother, or somebody to sit next to you in the car and go, "That's the wrong gear, press the clutch." All these words that won't mean anything to those of you that can't drive. So you learn. Okay? So then you become a bit more competent. So then you become, consciously that you are competent. Right? So you'll practice and you practice and you practice and you get better and then you know that you can do it. So then you take your test. Right? So you take your driving test. And at that point you pass your driving test. And then it all goes out the window. Everything that you've learned, you forget because you know how to drive, so you don't have to think about mirror, signal, manoeuvre, anything. So what happens then is you start to become a little bit complacent. So you become what they call unconsciously incompetent. Right? So you start making shortcuts. So you maybe stop looking in your mirror, you maybe stop signal. It just becomes one of those things that you just do automatically. Like go to the gym or get a shower or brush your teeth. It just goes on in your head. And you don't realise that you've got bad habits in driving. Or maybe if you're catheterising somebody, because you do it every day, you don't realise that there's things that are, that you shortcuts that you're taking. And then something happens. So you might have a little car crash, a little bump, or, somebody might be in pain when you do a procedure. And then you think, oh my goodness, what happened there? I forgot to signal, or I didn't swab, or whatever. So then you become conscious that you're incompetent. So you're aware then that something's not right. So then you know then that something's not right, that you're not doing it properly. You reflect on it. And then you go back at the beginning and you get yourself back up to here again. So once you reflect on it, you think, why did I do that? I did that because I've forgotten I do it that often, every day. I don't even think about it. So now I need to think about it more. Okay, so let me give you an illustration of something that happened to me. I had a patient, again, mental health, I'm afraid, very sick at times, and she had this delusion, so this belief that there were men hiding in her loft in her house, so that's the attic, and these men would come down in the night and abuse her. It wasn't happening, it wasn't true, but that was part of her delusion. So she had like a ball of sellotape, like tape, with a knife sticking up like that. And at night she'd put it underneath the loft, like that. So that was on the side of the table. And she locked all the doors, she locked herself in. She was a very, very anxious lady. And I used to visit her every week to give her an injection in her bottom. And then this week I had a student nurse with me. She wouldn't have any males, so it was a girl, a female student nurse. And we went to visit her and I knocked on the door as normal. She opened the door like this. She saw it was me and she went shh, 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 undid all the bolts and let me in. So I went in with the student nurse behind me. Hiya, how are you doing? Let's call her Anne. How are you doing, Anne? I'm all right, Deb, I'm okay, fine. We sat down as usual. She offered me a cup of tea. I said no, because I'd just had one. And we talked about her illness and how she was feeling. And then I gave her an injection. And I turned around like that and I looked at the student nurse. And the student nurse was white. And like that. And I went, what's going on here? Anyway, we got out of the house and we sat in the car. And I said to her, what on earth is wrong with you? You've not spoken. She was quite chatty, this student nurse, normally. I said, you've not spoken, what's the matter? And she went, she locked us in. And she's got a knife. And I went, oh. And I hadn't explained to her the situation, because I didn't do that. I sort of used to take students with me and then ask them when we got out, what do you think of that woman, what do you think's happening there? So I hadn't said anything. And I explained then what I've just told you, it's part of a delusion, all the rest of it. And she went, yeah, but she locked the door. What if she went mad and attacked you with that knife? And I thought about it and I thought, you know what, she's right. She's absolutely right. But because I visited her for months and months and months, and that was the situation that she was more comfortable with, I'd stopped thinking about it. So I'd got to this bit here. Now, although the care I was giving her was good, the situation I put myself in was dangerous. But because I knew her and knew her background, I didn't recognise that danger. And it took a student nurse to say to me, I didn't feel safe. And I started to think, maybe she's right. And then I thought about it and I thought, if my manager had come with me on that visit, she would have gone bananas. Because I was putting myself in a situation. So the next week when I went back, I explained to Anne and I said, look, I just said that we'd had new directive from the NHS. And I said to her, can you do me a favour? Can you just put, when I'm in the house with you, can you just put the one chain on? So she just put that one chain on, because it was only like, I thought, if I've got to get out, I can pull it and it'll break. So yeah, I went through that process, and it was the student nurse that got me from this bit back up here to think about, where I was. So that's what reflection is. It's a movement from that situation to this one, and then back again. So it's a cycle. Because we'll do that. You do things often enough, it becomes a habit. You brush your teeth. You go to the gym, it's a habit. You don't think about it.
No, we have to do risk assessment every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a story for this, I remember.
Good. We like stories here, that's how we learn. Get that out of the way. Go on.
She was working on a surgical ward. They were night shift, 3 nurses, around 40 patients. So they used to give vancomycin, should be in 100 ml. Normal saline should be given in half an hour.
Yeah.
So because of lots of patients and it's 5 a.m. near to give the endorsement. So she thought about, okay, I'll give it faster with syringe 10 ml, IV push. Then she used to give all the patients, then she think, okay, it's going okay, no reaction, so let me carry on. And that patient came one day, he was 24 years old. And he was the same Somali nation like her. She gave him and the patient died.
Oh no.
And when they came for CPR and everything, she told the doctor, I did, the doctor told her.
Really?
Don't tell.
Yeah.
Then they couldn't resuscitate and the patient died. Then they stopped her working 3 months for investigation. Then luckily her mom came. She said, that family, the son died. and she doesn't know her daughter. She's the one.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Wow. See, we do, I mean, nursing's a difficult job, and it's a risky job, and you never know when you're going to get the one person that's going to react in that way. So we do need to reflect on our practice and make sure that,
Exactly.
and I didn't do that, I didn't do it in that particular situation. You know, I don't, sometimes you get so ingrained in the role, in the job, especially if you're doing the same sort of thing every day, that it does become habit. And it's always worth stepping outside that habit and going, why have I done it that way? You know, that might have worked with that patient, but it wouldn't work with this patient. And that's exactly what reflection is. Right, so the purpose is to bridge the theory practice gap. So I'm standing here now, and I'm telling you what you should do. And then you might go out there into practice, you know, when you get your jobs at the end of it, and it's not the same. It's not the same as what I've taught you. Now, I'm in my little ivory tower here. I haven't worked on a ward for years and years, you know, so what I think goes on the wards probably isn't. So I can teach you the book practice, so the research, what the research says you should do, so the evidence-based practice. But when you get out there, it might not be like that at all for lots of reasons. You know, maybe you're short-staffed, or maybe, you know, you've got a global pandemic going on. You know, so there's lots of reasons why things might be different. So reflecting helps you to do that. So you'll go, right, well, Deb taught us this, but that won't work in this situation because of COVID, or because of the person doesn't understand English, or whatever. So how do I change? So keep the premise, keep the centre of what I've been taught, but change it slightly so it fits into that situation. And that's what reflection helps you do. It's called the theory practice gap. So I'm teaching you the theory, out there the practice might be different. It enhances the quality of the action, so you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and what the likely outcome's going to be. So it redefines problems, so if you've got a problem in practice, you just keep going back to it and changing it until you get it right, don't you? And that's what reflection is. Increases accountability. So if you have group reflection, we call it supervision in the NHS. If you are ever offered that, please accept it. So what that is talking through your thoughts with someone who is usually more experienced clinically than you are, that helps you to learn and develop yourself. Very, very valuable. And it gives you more confidence, especially when you've done something good and you go home and you go, that worked really well. My daughter, as I might have said to you before, is a mental health nurse. Did I tell you the other day about the bus route? Well, she came about the lady.
No.
It was one of her patients, she had to ring them, and a lot of our mental health work at the minute is going on the phone. So we're ringing people and we're saying, how are you doing? And my daughter rang this lady, who she knows quite well, and this lady said, I'm not very good, Kate. I'm on a bus and I've got a bottle of bleach, you know, like bleach solution. I'm going to drink it. I'm going to get off this bus and I'm going to drink it. So Kate said, well, don't do that, you know, that's not a good thing to do. She said, I'll come and meet you off the bus, tell me where you are, what bus you're on, and I'll come and meet you and we'll have a chat. You can sit in the car and we'll have a chat. She wouldn't tell her. She said, I've gone past Ashton, which is a place out that way, and I've gone past this garage, but I don't know where I am. So Kate then got the bus route up on Google, looked at the possible buses she could get on, and said to her, right, I think the bus that you're on is going to the bus station. I'll meet you at the bus station. No, if I know you're there, I'm going to get off before then. So she thought on her feet and she rang the police and she said, look, I've got a lady on a bus. I know she's on one of two buses. I don't know which one, because she won't tell me, but the only where she's described she's going past, she can only be here or here. So the police got onto the CCTV on the buses. They can log into that, and they found this girl, and they got out, and she didn't drink a bit of the bleach, but not enough to really seriously harm her. And then when Kate came to my house straight from that, because I was looking after the kids, so she came and she talked to me about that, and I said to her, that was awesome. What you did was wonderful. To think outside the box like that, to try and find where she was and look at the bus routes, and all she could think of was, I didn't stop her from drinking the bleach. What she couldn't think of was that she got the police there quick enough to stop her getting off the bus, going somewhere quiet and drinking the whole bottle. But having me to sort of say to her, well, look at it from this point of view. You know, who would have thought to look at the bus route? who would have thought to get the police to look at the CCTV? You know, so sometimes that's what helps someone to say that to you. That was a really good thing that you did, because she couldn't see it herself. Right. Right, so to go through the process of reflection, you've got to be aware that there's something to reflect on first. So you've got to be aware that something has happened that you're not comfortable with, or you think you could have done better, or that you absolutely did brilliantly. Right, so when you're thinking about your reflection that you're writing for us personal tutors, pick something simple. So don't pick this massive thing like you told us about, you know, the servant going running. Don't pick that because it's massive, there's lots of bits to it. Pick something simple. So pick something, and actually, even though I've said to you you should do it when things go really well, it's probably easier to write about if it's something that's not gone as well as you would have expected. So you need to be aware that there's something there. So I'm thinking of, it doesn't have to be nursing, but it's probably easier for you if it is. So if it's something that happened in your previous role, or in your role that you're doing now as HCAs or whatever you're doing, that made you think of it. When you walked out of the room or you came home after your shift, you thought, I don't know, there's something about that bothered me, or that went completely wrong, or, you know, that could have gone wrong, but we made it go right because we did something different. So try and think of an incident. So it might be, you know, someone pulled a catheter out, or, you know, someone fell out of bed, or someone, if you're in a nursing home, someone escaped, you know, someone with dementia went wandering, something like that, something small. And then you need to analyse it. So you need to think, what is it about this incident that makes me want to write about it? You know, what is it that, it's obviously stuck in your mind. I mean, the last cohort before you, some people wrote about stuff that had happened 10 years ago, but it stuck in their mind. So think of something like that. And once you've done the actual writing down and the reflection, it gives you a new perspective. So the outcome of it is that you learn from it. Two outcomes. You learn from writing the reflection, and we can then look at your writing skills. So that's why we're asking you to do. So there are different types. General everyday reflection. You do that every day. Every day. When you come here to uni, you reflect on the way you walked here. Is there a better way to get here? Is there a quicker way? You reflect on where you park your car. Who was it who asked me about car parking?
Me.
Yeah. Did you find somewhere?
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah, good. You got it. Good. Okay. So it might be anything like that. So general informal reflection we're doing on. You'll probably do that on your walk on the way home. You know, what do you think of that today? Well, I understood that bit, but that bit I didn't understand. That bit was boring. You know, that stuck in my head. So you do that.
I left from my mistake to call the train later.
Did you? Okay, so you've reflected on that and thought, I can't be bothered with that. I'm going to go on the train. Okay, group reflection. So one of the things that we might do is we'll get you together in small groups. That's just remembered of something I've got to do before you go. And if it's formalised reflection, that's through the use of diaries and you actually write it down. You're not going to be doing that now, but when you go into your practice, when you develop and end up being nurses, you might be doing clinical reflection where you have to write it down and report it. Does anybody have that before in your country of origin? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. We don't get it as much here in the NHS as we should. It's not as good as it should be. Okay, so the nature of this is a good way of remembering it. The 6 wise men. So it basically means 6 W's. So what was the situation? Where did it happen? When did it happen? Who was involved? What was your role? What were the people around you? What exactly happened? Why did it go wrong or right? And the only one that isn't a W is the end one. How are you going to do something about it in the future? Right? It's a much easier way of doing that. Not doing cold. Not doing that. There's lots of different ways of doing reflection. You'll see lots of different models of reflection. If any of you have used them before, use it. Otherwise, you can use, I'll put it up there, this model I'm going to do with you in a minute. So, the conclusion, if I tell you something, the likelihood is you'll forget it. If I show you it, which is why I do a lot of talking about situations and things like that, so you might not remember what I'm teaching you, but you remember the story. involve me and I will understand. So I stood you up, walked up towards you so you understood that. Okay? That's really important. So the model we're asking you to use is called Driscoll's model. I think you've got this on canvas. Over here. This way. So this is the guy. Not long enough. Driscoll's model of reflection.
Do the reflection have to be always negative, or it can be a positive?
No, it can be a positive. Sometimes people find it easier to write about negative things because it's a lot easier to criticise yourself than to praise yourself. If I was to go around you all now and say, give me 2 great things about yourself and 2 things that you don't like, you'll probably be able to find the 2 things you don't like much easier than the 2 things that you do like.
No.
We're not very good at praising ourselves. Not sure whether maybe that's a British thing sometimes. I know Americans are very good at saying what they're good at.
Yeah,
You know?
better than.
Yeah. so in some ways, it's easy to write about the negative. But if you've got something that happened that did really well and you learn from it and you change practice because of it, yes, use something that was successful.
Yeah.
So this is the easiest model of reflection. There's 3 things you need to remember. So the first thing is what. Very easy. What happened? So when you're writing this down, the first thing you need is to tell me or your tutor what happened. So I was working on a shift on Friday morning when I heard one of the ladies pressed a call bell. When I went in the room, she was in a room with 4 other people, and the room was very smelly. It became obvious that she'd been incontinent of feces. Okay, so that's the situation. That's what happened. Okay. So this is very simple. I don't want it to be quite this simple, but we'll use this. So that's your first thing. Next one is so what. So what happened? So what did you do? So you walked into this room, there was a smell of feces, there were 3 other ladies in the room that were complaining about the smell, and there was one lady in the corner crying, upset, distressed, anxious, obviously had been incontinent. So what did you do about it? Obviously you needed to clean her up and you needed to help her. So let's say that you're a staff nurse on a ward and it was a nursing assistant in this situation. So what happened? Well, this nursing assistant walked into the ward and went, oh my God, it smells in here.
No.
What's going on? Oh, hang on a minute, I'll go and get an apron and some clean stuff, and walked out the room. Right? So that's not right, is it? That's not right. So you've told me what's happened is someone's been incontinent. So what happened with that? The nursing assistant went in and absolutely made a bit of a show of her, reacted completely wrong in that situation.
Now what?
So now what? Yeah, there you go, 1 step ahead. So now what do I do about it? So what would you do about it then?